This is Super Yacht News with E. Sisman.
Hi, welcome back to the channel. So the super yacht MY Luminosity has been advertised for sale on the Blue Water Yachting website. The yacht is owned by Andrey Melnichenko, who is a sanctioned Russian. The reason why we're talking about this yacht. Now, the yacht has not had the best history since being built by Bonetti in 2020. The yacht, which was known as Project Zosa during the build, was one of the largest yachts ever built by the Italian yacht builder. 107.6 meters or 353 feet. The yacht was intended to be delivered to her original owner, the person who ordered the yacht, but he declined the yacht because it was over 2 years late being delivered. Now, the delays went over a contractual 200-day force majeure, and the owner took that as an opportunity to get all of his money back. There's a thing written in the contract, if it's delayed over a certain amount of time, that they're entitled to back out of the deal. Now, the original price for that yacht, for the original delivery, was believed to be 270 million euros. Now, fast forward 2 years, in 2022, the yacht was purchased by Andrey Melnichenko, who is also the owner of Alfa Nero, although he denies this. However, his daughter now claims to be the owner of that yacht. The vessel was delivered, Luminosity was delivered to Montenegro, where she's effectively been laid up ever since. As a week after the delivery, he was added to the sanctions list after the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. Now, as far as we know, Mr. Melnichenko has never set foot on this yacht. And the price he paid for the yacht, we believe it was 175 million euros, around that price. So almost 100 million euros off the original price of the build from Bonetti. And now the vessel is for sale, as I said, with Blue Water Yachting for 135 million euros. That's another 40 million euro discount. However, the yacht, as like I said, effectively was abandoned in Montenegro ever since Melnichenko was sanctioned. I don't mean completely abandoned. I mean, it was hardly any crew on board, wasn't any money being spent on the vessel, the crew were not being paid, etc., etc. There was an ever increasingly rotating caretaker crew, meaning that they were coming in, working for a few months and then leaving because they weren't getting paid. A company called Opus Private, which is based in Guernsey, who was meant to be paying them, was not paying them, most likely due to the fact they weren't getting the funds through from the owner. At one point, the entire caretaker crew walked off the yacht after having no pay for months. And now the yacht has liens against it put in place by Nautilus, a UK maritime union for non-payment of salaries to former crew. So the big question is, how can the yacht be advertised for sale as the ultimate beneficial owner is a Russian who is currently on the sanctions list? Well, we put that question to the CEO of Blue Water Yachting, Peter Bennett, and he explained to us that the yacht is now owned by a trust, and therefore Mr. Melnichenko no longer has any control over the yacht. He says the trust has separated themselves from the owner, and therefore that allows them to have arranged a license through the UK government to sell the yacht, which is in a deal similar to the deal that allowed Project NB1010 to be sold to Mark Zuckerberg in the Netherlands, which was later renamed Launchpad, right? So in that deal, the government made an agreement that the monies that were paid for the yacht would go into an escrow account and would remain there until the sanctions were resolved, however that may be eventually. Now, assuming they are resolved at some point, then Mr. Vladimir Potanin, who originally ordered that vessel that now belongs to Mark Zuckerberg, he will get his money, plus probably any interest that might be in that account. Now, Mr. Bennett of Blue Water Yachting explained this is basically the same situation with Luminosity, and this is how they are able to sell the yacht. So Mr. Melnichenko won't receive any of those proceeds until he is removed from the sanctions list. Almost every yacht is owned through companies like this. There's various reasons for it, liability reasons, etc., etc. But also plausible deniability is another thing that we see an awful lot. We get a lot of emails from various different company or law firms saying they represent the company that owns the yacht and that the person that you mentioned doesn't own the yacht. Well, yes, okay, he might not own it, but he owns it, right? So and what do I mean by that? I mean, he purchases the yacht, he creates a trust, he places the yacht in the trust, and then he has some people who run the trust and he has no say over the trust, but he is paying the people who are running the trust, right? It's just a way to shelter themselves from that and from other things like I said, liability if there's an accident with the vessel, that they can't be sued and have all their money taken from them, stuff like that. Anyway, we'll put a link in the description if you want to see the advertisement for that yacht. And we're going to move on now to our next story. Now, the sanctioned Russian Andrey Melnichenko was recently interviewed by Tucker Carlson on his YouTube channel. Now, if you're not from the US like me, Tucker Carlson is a former Fox News opinion host who was fired after the parent company agreed to pay over $750 million to Dominion, a company that makes voting machines in the US. Andrey Melnichenko is the owner of two super yachts, a motor yacht A, the one that looks like a submarine, and sailing yacht A, the latter, which was arrested in the shipyard in Trieste in Italy in 2022 after Melnichenko was added to the sanctions list in the EU, as well as various other countries, which I'll tell you about in a minute. And we covered it from the day it was arrested right up until the present day. His other yacht, a motor yacht A, which was the one that he had first, that's been hiding out in Dubai ever since, which is where we believe Mr. Melnichenko is now residing. Also said that Mr. Melnichenko had had his property stolen from him, something even Mr. Melnichenko never actually agreed with in the interview, saying that his property had been arrested by the various governments. And he went on to say that he believes he will eventually get his property back. Now, Tucker Carlson asked Mr. Melnichenko why he was on the sanctions list, and Mr. Melnichenko stated that he was sanctioned not because he did something bad, but because of who I am. That's a quote from the video. Now, in this interview, Melnichenko says that he's not an oligarch because he never had any favor from Putin. He said he's never met Putin one-on-one. He's only ever been in the room with him a couple of times. One of them was just before the invasion of Ukraine. And he said the Russian government he's never had any help from them with his fortune. And he was never involved in the privatization after the fall of the Soviet Union. He was, in fact, only about 16 years old when that happened. And this is something that various reporting backs up, including Forbes, who also suggests that Melnichenko is a self-made billionaire and therefore not what they call an oligarch. Melnichenko tells them that he owns two companies, and one of them is called Eurochem. Well, Eurochem makes fertilizer, and there was a long conversation about how sanctioning his company had caused the fertilizer to increase in price around the world, which is true. You know, I'm not saying that that's not true. It is true. And Carlson talked about the fact that fertilizer is used to grow food, and why would they sanction a company that is only trying to grow food? Well, anybody who knows anything about munitions and explosives knows that fertilizer, or the raw materials that go into it, can be used to make explosives. And this is where Mr. Melnichenko's companies appear to run afoul of the various countries that he's been sanctioned from. He's currently sanctioned by the EU, the UK, the US, Canada, Switzerland, Australia, Japan, Ukraine, and New Zealand. Now, according to research published on various websites, including this one, which I'll put a link to in the description and all the normal places, Eurochem serves defense companies specializing in explosives and combustible substances. Granulated saltrate has been purchased by chemical plants, which produces ammunition for various munitions supplied to the Russian military, which is specifically being used in the war in Ukraine, right? I'll put a list on the screen of the weapons that have been made allegedly using raw materials from Eurochem. We'll also put in the description a list of links where you can find further details about how the various companies have purchased materials from Eurochem and how they've used them to supply the Russian military. Now, since the interview, we've seen an increase in our videos on our channel, where on videos featured Mr. Melnichenko, you know, his yachts and seizures and stuff, asking why he's been put on the sanctions list. And no doubt these comments have been motivated by this recent interview. A lot of people seem to just believe whatever is said in these interviews, and then they start commenting around the internet as if they're informed, right? So anyway, now you've got some information about why Mr. Melnichenko is probably running afoul of the various different countries. Anyway, this is the first time I've ever watched an interview by Tucker Carlson. It's certainly worth watching, but only because Melnichenko is an incredibly smart person, and he was very interesting to watch, despite the framing of the questions which were loaded in his favor. Melnichenko answered them generally with neutral and interesting answers. Now, Melnichenko was on the Forbes list in 2021, saying that his value was about $17.9 billion. I don't know if it's changed since the war started in Ukraine. Now, I recognize that Tucker Carlson is a polarizing character in the US with his fans and his haters, but just remember, I'm not American. I don't live in America. I have no skin in that game. I just call it as I saw it or as I see it. And like I said, that's the first time I've ever watched an interview conducted by him. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it there. If you haven't seen it yet, please be sure to check out our latest feature, which was released on Sunday. Recent filming from Monaco and having some issues with the yacht security on a massive super yacht that's owned by the Emir of Qatar. So yeah, check that out. It's a fun video. If you've got any information for us, be sure to get in touch in the normal fashion. You can get us on the About page of the YouTube channel. You can get us on Instagram, on Facebook Messenger, on Twitter, and on Threema. Please be sure to like the video and share it with people who you might think be interested in these videos, and like the video and all that jazz. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch up with you soon. Bye-bye.